Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Roseville Area School Board meeting for Tuesday, October 8th. Clerk will please take the roll.
Thank you. Good evening. Director Johnson.
Here.
Director Goggins.
Here.
Chair Anderson.
Here.
Treasurer Clark.
Here.
Director Bogachevsky.
Here.
And Clark Chu is here.
Okay, announcements, comments, or agenda adjustments, excuse me. Any adjustments for this evening?
There are no agenda adjustments.
Thank you. Announcements, comments, recognitions. The land acknowledgement will be read this evening by Clerk Chu. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll have to put on my glasses to show you really correctly. It's my honor to do this. Roseville Area School acknowledges that we reside on traditional, ancestral, contemporary, and unceded territory of the Dakota people. From Bidote, a confluence of the Mississippi and Minnesota rivers, a place the Dakota people poetically claim as the center of the earth directly beneath the center of heaven, to Indian Mounds Park, a sacred place of burial built by ancestors of living people and home to the only known remaining burial mounds within the Minneapolis-St. Paul urban core. Indigenous people have cared for this land. Through warfare, genocide, relocation, and removal perpetrated by colonizers, the state of Minnesota and the federal government, injustices that reduce over 150 million indigenous people to around 300,000. Indigenous people have given their blood, tears, heart, resilience, and love to this land. Enduring boarding schools that were in operation from 1879 through the 1930s, where assimilation through humiliation was the curriculum, and unspeakable atrocities occurred daily, to the foster care system, where more kids were removed from indigenous homes than any other group in Minnesota. Indigenous people have not lost their culture or identity and still reside on this land. Roseville Area Schools is committed to ensuring the culture of our indigenous relatives, the original and rightful caretakers of this land, is studied, preserved, and celebrated. We are committed to understanding and honoring the sovereignty that has denied to nearly 600 indigenous nations, including 11 federally recognized tribes in Minnesota, through the breaking of over 400 treaties, and we are committed to the truth of the history of our indigenous relatives, the success of our indigenous students, and to the healing we hope to create through this commitment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Clerk Chu.
Ooh, guess what?
Okay, moving on to any summary of community input received for this evening's action items that I'm aware of. All right. Okay, moving on to this evening's consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus we do have a retirement.
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this evening's consent agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Clerk Chu, for the retirement.
We have one retirement today. We want to honor Paulette Leska, who is the accounts payable specialist at the district center. And she has worked for the district for 26 years. So we are very grateful for her service to our district. And so now I move for her retirement.
Thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Gifts this evening will be read by Director Johnson.
Always a pleasure. We have a financial gift from Wendy Thompson to Brimhall Elementary for use in the Media Center. A financial gift including school supplies and snacks from Anchored Ministries to Edgerton for students in need, Meet the Teacher open house and class parties. Path of Grace, School Supplies and Snacks, Students in Need and Meet the Teacher Open House, Edgerton. School Supplies, Galilee Lutheran Church, also for use, Students in Need, Edgerton. The Intera Family Clinics, gifted school supplies for students in need. Kristen Haymaker and Nathan Kohler, I am so sorry if I think I'm butchering your names, made a financial gift for the girls' tennis program at Roseville Area High School. Mary Watson and James Donaldson made a financial gift to the same girls' tennis program, Roseville Area High School. And Joan Ringstorff made a financial gift to Roseville Area High School for the Family and Consumer Services Department. Carrie Lee made a financial gift, Family and Consumer Services Department, Roseville Area High School. Nicholas and Samantha Mokel made a financial gift to the Boys Cross Country Program at Roseville Area High School. Catherine and Paul Moeller gave a financial gift to the Boys Cross Country Program, Roseville Area High School. And Your Cause NPO Connect, on behalf of Aaron Mastrian, made a financial gift for the district's discretion, Roseville Area Schools. It goes without saying that we're not able to do this work without the generous support of our community.
Thank you, Director Johnson. All right, that moves us to reports and non-action items for the evening. We have some guests here. Director Sherry Thompson, come on up for Sustainable Practices update. We have a wonderful presentation in store for us. Come on up.
Good evening. I would actually also, I'm going to do some introductions. This is our Green School Steering Committee with the five of us here. You already know who I am, of course. And Todd Laser from Buildings and Grounds. We have our student, Kiara Carrigan. You probably recall her speaking to the board back in June of 2023 when you passed the resolution to join Green Step. We also have Jonay Brigham, who's here from Green Step Schools, and then Sean Quartz, who has very generously donated so much time to this project and helping us write our story. He's a parent in the district, so he has also been part of the steering committee. And then we have the larger group, and I would like the larger group to join us because I think what's really important is don't be shy. This is the Students for Climate Change group.
Wonderful.
They
Come on,
meet at the
please,
district
guys.
center every Wednesday. Climate action.
Climate action.
Okay. So they meet at the district center every Wednesday for an hour. So when they have a late start, they're actually in early, meeting weekly. And they are also part of our larger committee that meets 4 times a year. So we spent this last year writing kind of our project statement, our story. And I'm happy to say that Roseville Area Schools and the Roseville Area High School we are being awarded the first Green Step Schools Award in the state of Minnesota.
Oh,
So I'll hand it over to Jody.
Awesome.
All right. If
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would
talk
love
more
to say
about
some
the
things.
Yeah.
First of all, on behalf of Minnesota Green Step Schools and all its partners and all the schools in the state and youth that are looking to you as leaders first in line, it's not easy to be first. Thank you so much for your leadership and congratulations on this award. It represents not only your ongoing work in sustainability, which you're only beginning to share those stories with Green Step. I know there's many more stories to come. But it's so fabulous for our very first district and school in the program to have been initiated by a youth initiative. That climate walkout that led to, hey, let's join Green Step Schools, let's be the first. and then the conversations that ensued, and thank you for including me in those conversations. We're in a pilot phase, and so we're really indebted to Roseville Area Schools and Roseville Area High School for, you know, all the conversations about, I'm not sure what that means, and could you make that more clear? And so it's really been a contribution to the program, as well as just a pleasure to work with you all. So congratulations, and I'm looking forward to all the stories to come, and thank you, all you youth leaders as well.
So, just a quick question. So the 2 awards, one is for the district as a whole,
Yep.
and one is specific for the high school.
Yes.
Without writing a book verbally, maybe you can share some of the criteria or factors that go into that,
Yes.
and why the high school in particular, even separate from the district as a whole.
Yes, the structure of Green Step Schools is to award both districts and schools. We recognize so many
Yep.
green school decisions happen at the district level and policies and so forth, but it really depends on the participation of schools. And while facilities improvements are great, we want those stories to filter out to and be involved with schools and students. And so that's why we recognize both schools and the district. And so in order to achieve Green Step Level 1, the criteria is to pass a school board resolution, which you did a year ago in June, and saying that you'll participate and have at least 3 green team meetings a year. So part of the last year was figuring out the structure of the green team, the steering and the advisory, and that at least 1 school would sign on, and that was Roseville Area High School. And in addition to forming a green team and committing to meet, one of the things about Green Step Schools is to share the story, not just we did this on this date, but to really talk about what were the issues that came up, because it's not just to document your achievement, it's to teach other schools, because nothing inspires and informs like peer-to-peer learning. And so that story is for the other schools to say, okay, I see how they did it. We're a little bit different, but you know, we can learn from that. So that is what Step 1 is about.
Cool.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow.
One other, excuse me, one other thing I'd like to add, and I apologize for not including this, is to also recognize Laura Jansen, who is our science teacher, who has been amazing and a huge mentor for all of the students. And she's been there since the beginning and continues to be. And sometimes, because I'm so used to being surrounded by kids, I don't see her as not being like a student. So I want to apologize for that.
Yeah.
Laura's been fabulous.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Laura, and thank you all of our students.
Thank you.
Is it possible to get a picture with everyone receiving the award, or is that going to disrupt
We have
your
time.
meeting?
Go ahead and take
Okay,
a picture,
yeah.
and then we can do the report following the picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's great.
so who wants to hold the high school one? I think you want to do that. Todd and Sherry, do you want to hold the district one?
Come on, guys.
Carrie, we should all be.
Did everybody, whoever,
You want to be in it? Okay.
as large a group photo as someone can manage.
I was just going to say, you should be in.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It's really up to you who wants to.
Work your magic, Carrie. Okay, we're gonna have to layer up a little because you guys are in a long line. Sherry thinks she's tall. Thank you, Sherry. And everybody turn sideways and squish in a little bit, snuggle up. Big round of applause for the students. Director Thompson?
And Todd's part of it. All right. All right, now we look forward to the sustainability
Yep,
report.
we're just going to give you an update on where we're at on our sustainability initiatives. We've presented on these before, but yes, just a quick update. And in addition to Todd and I, We have Megan Ronnie, who is a science teacher at FOS, and she's going to touch a little bit on the curriculum. And of course, Executive Director Vondelindy is with us as well.
And if I may, I think this may be a good time to interject, right? Our Roseville area schools host 2 high schools, so when we say high school referenced earlier, it was Roseville
Oh,
Area
yes,
High School.
yes, thank you.
Earning the award, and Fairview Alternative High School has been equally as connected into environmental practices and education. So just recognizing your
Yes.
leadership and
Yes.
work at FOS as well.
Yes, that's great.
Thank you.
So first of all, of course, these initiatives, these sustainability initiatives do tie into our goals and key strategies in the district as far as our strategic planning goes. In preparing our students, and then also our students contributing to an equitable and caring society. We are culturally responsive, inclusive, and an anti-racist district. The community is united behind meeting the student needs, and we're financially secure. And these initiatives tie into a lot of different areas across our strategic plan. As far as our operational efforts, we are partnering with different agencies, including the Department of Education, Green Ribbon Schools. Harambe received that award back in 2015, I believe. We have funding initiatives through various grant programs, including our solar programs, and then also some programs that we've participated in through Ramsey County, some of the grants there. And we're looking to explore additional initiatives as we move forward.
So the 3 areas I'm going to talk about are solid waste management, stormwater management, and solar. Starting with solid waste management, we partnered with Ramsey County, and you can see by the photos, one of the first steps was to standardize our containers, and with hopes that this would really help with the contamination. One of the things we often hear is the custodian put the recycling in the garbage. They are trained to do that if it's contaminated. So it's a training on our end, and our goal, they know when they can take stuff out and sort it. So solid waste management, we go with single sort recycling, and all of the trucks, Republic trucks, run on compressed natural gas. So the recycling, single source recycling, all goes through a MRF. It's a very hands-on process, and this is why it's so important to get that contamination out of it.
And we're still going to do a field trip there.
Yes.
Yes.
I was going to ask that.
And then the other part of it, we have the recycling, but now we have the waste, and the waste is all sent to the R&E Center down in Newport, and this is where they burn it for electricity. The numbers on the next slide, I actually looked at today, and the numbers are almost identical for the current one. Instead of 14 ton, it was like 13,540. But the numbers are still really close. And then we have food waste. Most people don't realize 80% by volume or by weight of waste that's produced in our buildings comes from the kitchen. So that's where our injuries come from, and that's why it's so important to try to capture it in the kitchen and not in the waste stream. So, or kitchen and the cafeteria. So if you look at the food recover hierarchy, we're source reduction, you'll see we're doing all that stuff, feeding humans first and then animals. We looked at composting, but obviously the food to hogs was a better option. So that's where the next program, all elementary schools. The rollout at the secondary schools isn't there yet, and it has a lot to do with staffing. We're really struggling to, it takes support to make this work, and I don't believe we have the staffing to be successful yet.
I'm sorry, could you expand on that just a little bit about, like, what staffing you would need for?
Yep, so a lot of ours is actually monitoring the barrel, like working with students to help them separate.
Yeah.
And make sure, and somebody has to be there with the tongs to pull contamination out of it, so. It's trying to find those types of workers.
Okay, thank you.
And then and what this does is it eliminates a lot of the heavy lifting required by our custodial staff to get it up into a dumpster. And you can see the storage sheds that we store them in once they're full.
So through nutrition services, we are in the process. We continue to replace our dish machines so that we can transition to totally reusable trays and flatware. We've been doing that over a number of years. Some of the timing on this also aligns with the deferred maintenance work that we're doing, the long-term facility maintenance. For instance, this summer, we replaced, it was phase 2 of Falcon Heights Elementary. So the kitchen has totally been redone. And that is also more environmentally friendly, and they have a new dishwasher, which EDW will be receiving this next summer. So all of these initiatives decrease the single-use plastics with reusable.
Quick question. In doing that, does it cost us something in terms of investment to move to that process, or are we saving money, or does it break even? Or
We about break even on that when we've looked at it, because of course, we have the dish machines and there's more labor involved also with the reusable. But when we look at, and I mean, there are compostable containers and whatnot, but when we look at the cost is about a break even on that. And we're in a place now that we're able to employ staff. That was a little bit more challenging, of course, with COVID. And
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'd rather, if we had money to spend,
Yes.
to break even, I'd rather spend it on a job for somebody than on plasticware.
Absolutely,
So, yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you.
So also in nutrition services, we have offer versus serve at all levels. So that means that students can self-select, but we have all the options there for students to select from. So this also decreases our food waste. They have worked very hard to increase vegetarian options at all of our schools. And as you've heard before, we can't say enough about our nutrition services, and they're purchasing local, and they're Minnesota local on Thursdays. They've done an excellent job, and also increasing our participation, but decreasing the waste.
Stormwater management, so there's 3 different types of stormwater management. First, you have the above ground, and that would just be the holding retention ponds. And then you have below, underneath some parking lots, we have essentially retention ponds that just seep into the soil, and they hold the first inch of rain on site before it goes off site. And then the third one is the filtration system, the BMP, the best practice, or BMP, best management practice, that was installed at Parkview. And this actually requires filters, so you can see it diverts the stormwater coming down B, and it sends it through there. And this doesn't put it into the ground, it actually sends it through a filter. And then annually, these filters are, so this was all done in cooperation with Ramsey County, the City of Roseville, and Capital Region Watershed. And working with them, we're maintaining it. Definitely needed a partnership because we don't have the capacity to maintain this. So, the other type, this is an example of the above ground. These are the ones you can see. I believe pretty much every site has a variation of this. And then solar. So looking at the solar on top of this building, obviously they'll get into the solar a little bit more in the curriculum. But we're still looking for opportunities to take advantage of it. Falcon Heights, we just finished construction. That roof is so full, we aren't gonna get solar on it, unfortunately. But, so now we're working on EDW. That will wrap up next summer with hopes of then coming behind construction with solar if we can put together a feasible plan.
So Again, we received the Minnesota Green Step Schools Award this evening. There are different outcome areas that are defined by the program. Organizational, excuse me, leadership, reduced environmental impact and costs, improved health and wellness, and effective environmental and sustainability education. So those are the things that we're looking as we look forward, and we are looking to get some results. I touched on this a little bit earlier as far as during the presentation of the award. We did start meeting with students during the 22-23 school year. The board passed the resolution to join the Green Step Schools program in June of 2023, and we began meeting last year. We drafted our story and submitted that to Green Step Schools last May, and now we are fortunate to be awarded the first Green Step Schools in Minnesota. So we're going to continue to meet. We meet like 4 times a year, and now we'll be starting on step 2 and looking at where are we at and what are our next steps.
So how many steps are there?
8. So if you look at that level 1, and then it'll just keep going up.
Yeah, okay,
That's what we're, yes.
okay.
So yes, where you can see the green, those, yeah, we'll continue to fill in.
Question. So, backtracking, so field trip, is that going to be to the same facility that we were invited to go to by Commissioner who's no longer Commissioner?
Represent,
Yes.
it's Commissioner Fredham.
Yeah. That was fantastic. My wife and I went.
You did go.
We did go. Oh, my God. You
Amazing.
walk up and
Yeah, it
down some
really is.
stairs,
Yeah.
but just the breadth and scope of it, I highly encourage you to definitely make that something that we can offer to the kids, just to learn. And just, it was overwhelming new knowledge to me in terms of how massive of an undertaking it is, and, you know, how it affects our entire, it's not just the school, it's the entire region, so it's really cool. Secondly, I'll just throw this out now before we get into the curriculum stuff about the overall effort. I once again, as we have in the past, just want to call out Sherry for your leadership in helping us do all this in a way that's very cost effective, if not even cost beneficial. Because I think that's very important for us as a school board to maintain our fiscal accountability role while we are trying to be models on green. And to Todd and your team, because none of this is automatic. I mean, this is not like you start a ball rolling and it rolls. This is like active management every single day, decision-making. Even little things like you talked about how, you first had to decide how to, decide on the single style of the waste containers. Where I work, we'd have 500 people that want to be part of that committee. It's like, even decision-making, it's like the old bump 'em cars, right, in the carnivals, where if you take your foot off the gas, it just stops. You got to keep going on this. So pass on to your team just all the work they do. It's so great.
will.
And I think,
Thank
again, I know you've left the table, just shout out to the students.
Yes.
Because,
Yes,
at
the
the board, we were able to get it to bullet point 2. Past that, if you guys and the teachers didn't exist to push us forward, none of this would have happened.
Yeah.
So if you feel any pride in any of this right now, I hope you do, because you were an active part of making this all happen, and your colleagues on the committee at the high school and through the school. So thank you very much for pushing this forward. So now I'll shut up.
And let's,
Thank you.
before we move into curriculum, let's hold some questions until they're done. Is that all right?
Yes. Well, it was a different concept, which is why I felt okay. So I didn't want to be disruptive, but I guess I might have been, so there you go. Thank you.
Welcome, Megan.
Yeah,
Welcome.
thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'd love to speak through some of the curriculum here. So the solar panels cover the roof of this building, and we got that from a grant, those solar panel installation. And part of that grant agreement was that we do provide education on the solar panels, the energy they're providing to our building, and they've been really useful as an education tool for students to be able to have that real-world application that's right in their community where they go to school. So yeah, one of the things that we have done, we had a lesson in February last year where all students and all staff at FOS got the opportunity to learn about our solar panels and actually interact with a lot of the data. We have access to a really cool website that has the live data that our solar panels are generating, like how much electricity every day, every month. And so students were able to analyze, interpret a bunch of different types of data and graphs, and then put that into perspective for how sustainable this is for our building, how much electricity are we actually gaining from this, how many houses could we power with this, and that sort of thing. So that was a really good lesson opportunity for all students and staff at FAS. And then beyond that, I'm teaching a couple courses on climate change currently in this whole school year. So we do a lot of conversations about renewable energy, climate change, and then our solar panels as well. I wanted to show some examples of that data I was mentioning. So these are screenshots I took from the website. These were taken a week ago today. And this is just some examples of the types of data students are able to interact with and then further analyze into how this is used in our reduction of fossil fuel consumption. So one thing students really love looking at is this environmental benefits box. It tells us the approximate number of carbon dioxide pounds saved from emissions. So if we had never installed our solar panels, about 1.7 million extra pounds of CO2 into the atmosphere. And then they take that data and put it into a number that's a little easier to understand, which is it's about equivalent to having planted almost 13,000 trees. So students love that data fact alone. And then with the bar graph there on the right, we're seeing the actual electricity output per month for the year 2024. We have a lot of graphs similar to that on the website, but students are then able to take the actual raw data, the amount of energy in kilowatt hours, and then convert that to how many homes are we powering each month, or how much of our building are we able to power. And then the very bottom there is actually telling us the exact amount of electricity we're gaining from our solar panels in each day, each week, and over its lifetime there. So these are just a couple examples. Students are really able to learn from these graphs, and then, like I said, understand how much fossil fuel emissions we're saving from the environment there.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So when we do these lessons, the first thing students always say is they're so surprised to hear we have solar panels because they're not visible from the ground. And so when I show them this picture here, they're always shocked to see it. And then that surprise is almost always followed by just a sense of like happiness and pride that we've been learning about climate change and all the issues it brings us, but here we are in this building where we're using renewable energy, and a lot of our electricity is actually coming from solar power. And so those are the kind of responses I get from not only students but staff too. Staff have the same sort of reaction. They're happy to hear it. They didn't know we had our panels up there, so it's been really fun to hear those reactions. So moving forward, things we want to do is continue this education. So we want to continue incorporating our solar panels and our data and our electricity generation into our curriculum when we're having discussions about climate change and renewable energy. That can take place in all sorts of science classes and other classes as well. And then another thing we always do is encourage students to bring home these conversations too, because we know that small actions alone don't do much, but when we all do things together and then we go home and educate others and inspire them to do the same, that kind of thing makes a larger movement together.
I want to take your class.
Well, I was just going to ask, is
Yeah.
there any thought of, and maybe it exists already, I don't even know, to make it as part of like the community ed summer programs, or, you know, as a class, you know, or as an offering?
Yeah, that would be a
some
really
material.
cool
Because
summer.
I would imagine
Duly
many of our
noted.
community members would be interested in that. They might even pay for it, you know, so, yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay,
In
first
my
of all,
eyes, yeah.
this is awesome. It feels like years ago, when
It was.
Director Bogaszewski and I learned about the possibility of doing solar panels. And we were able to work with Sherry to get that done. One of the things that we really wanted, in addition to just getting, yes, we wanted the solar panels, but we also wanted to incorporate this into learning and to be able, this is what, you know, we were hoping and to see. And so it's so really cool to be able to see it love to play with the dashboard sometime, but we can talk about that later. But thank you for doing this, incorporating this into discussions about climate change and making sure that our kids know that we're part of the solution and that they can, even as important, that they can be part of the solution. So, thank you.
Thank you all for being here.
You might have mentioned this, but have you taken students up and actually showed them the panel? I'm just wondering, is there capacity?
Yeah.
ability to
I
do
went
that?
up
I'm
for
just
the
curious.
first time like a week ago today with Laura, and we got to see them, and we talked about the potential of bringing students up there. I think that they would really love that. It is a little, like, you have to get up these narrow
It's a ship
stairs.
line.
It's,
Yeah.
Just-
But for anyone who wanted to, like, I could see us taking a group of students who are interested for sure. I think they would love that.
Well, even on the MRF tour, my wife and I, you had to put on hard hats, you had to put on a safety vest. I'm sure we'd do what we had to do.
Yeah,
Yes.
we could get them safely up.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
ooh, one more thing, sorry. Going back to the tour. It's absolutely incredible. Make sure you go during the daytime, because then you can see the robots. That's the one thing that we weren't able to see. So there are robots.
With the compost?
Yes.
Yep, that's new.
That are able to move things around. So we saw them, we didn't see them in action, so.
Yep.
But it's an incredible facility.
And that's only residential compost so far.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Kitty?
A couple of questions, but let me start with talking about the curriculum. This is really exciting what you're doing in FOS. Are we looking at using it in other schools, even if they don't have solar panels on their building? Because it's still our district, they're still contributing to it. And it would be a way to take something that's more kind of a concept and make it real, that what they're doing in the school district in terms of generating some of this information. Is that on your radar at all to?
It's
Look
not
at-
yet, but I had the same thoughts.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I would love to connect with like Ra's science teachers or Rams as well, or
I think
whatever.
you two could.
Yeah,
Get to know each other.
Yeah. But yeah, I have like several really awesome lessons that would be ready to roll out to whomever. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
And we've talked about it at the elementary level too, as some of those get installed at the elementaries throughout the district as well.
Well, it just feels like a really way to make math interesting, or, and science real. I mean, it's always looking for examples like that. Then I wanted to back up to some of the earlier initiatives you were talking about. When we got a report on some of the green initiatives, I think it was maybe a year or two ago now.
Yeah.
And obviously, significant progress is being made. As you're looking forward, the various categories that you're working against, where do you see the most potential to really make some progress in the near term? And are there any categories of work that you want to do that aren't yet begun, but you have them on the radar for things to be looking at?
So we'll be talking a lot more about that this year.
Yep.
That's really a big, because first year was really documenting and recording our journey. So we'll be talking a lot about that this year. Next summer, we are doing, in addition to phase 2 of E.D. Williams Elementary, we'll be doing some roofing projects, some major roofing projects, so that will open up some opportunities for some additional solar panels. Also, and we've touched on this before, I don't think it is certainly not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, would be the electric buses. Right? It's one of those things that we need to explore. I'm not confident that the technology is quite there right now. I know we have an interest in that in the long term. We'll talk about that with our committee. I know the students have an interest in that as well. And again, it's not for many reasons. Also, our contractor, there's just many reasons. So we want to be very thought-filled about how we proceed down that road and make sure the timing is correct. So that's one big initiative that I can think of. And again, it's not a matter of if, it's when.
And I guess I have one more question. As we got this award, is it more for the planning that's gone into it, or is it the planning and the story of what's been done so far? I mean, what has resulted in the nomination?
I think it's the story itself, right?
You know,
I was gonna
Yeah.
say,
Yeah, I was about
Jody
to
may
say,
be able to best
Yeah.
comment on that.
Step one is really about demonstrating that you've laid the foundations for success. You have support from the top, you have a team ready to plan forward, and you have, you've reflected on your story and contributed that to others. So that's step one.
Thank you,
Thank you.
thank you.
And you know who's really gonna keep us moving forward?
They're in the back of the room.
Right there.
The ones that pushed us to begin with.
Yeah,
So, it's
Rose?
exciting.
yeah. Thank you for this work, it's exciting. We were just talking about this earlier. So do we have any interest, given the more we study about plastic on the environment, to do more about plastic? So I started kind of service with a company called Rickwell is what it's called, RIDWELL. And they really teach you how to sort between certain kind of multi-layered plastic versus regular plastic. You don't want to mix them.
Yep.
Right? So it's almost like, wow, if you start doing that, we use a lot of plastic because of all the wraps and all the storage and all that. So that has been kind of my interest in thinking about how do we reduce plastic use, right? Like, that's the reason we carry this.
Yep.
So I'm just wondering, is that something that we could really think about? And I can maybe forward that because they do school programming.
Yeah, would you share that,
Yeah,
please?
I will share that, yeah. I'm very impressed with what they've done now that they're in Minnesota. So it's really
And
quite
then we'll
cool.
be sure to invite you in, or invite you to our meetings when you're available to talk about your no waste events.
Yes, I have done that a few times, yes.
A few, more than a few, I think.
And it is possible, absolutely, yeah.
Great work.
Anybody else?
Huh?
Thank you for this fantastic presentation. Thank you.
Well done,
you, guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 7. We do need to move into a closed session to consider educational data and potential student expulsion. I'm going to,
A
quick question?
question of order,
Oh, okay.
is it in anybody's interest to think about changing the agenda and moving the board reports and the superintendent report ahead of the closed session? Because when we close, no one's going to come back from viewing. And I don't know if that would just be a disservice to the folks who are going to be here for the closed session or not.
There are no guests.
No guess, yeah.
Or it doesn't matter. It just occurred to me, I was looking at the agenda because no one's going to pay attention when we close.
Point taken. I think we'll get through this,
We'll just keep it as it is.
yeah, as,
Thank you for responding to my question. Thank you.
As chair, I will make the initial motion to go into closed session in order to consider educational data and the potential expulsion of a student pursuant to Minnesota statutes, section 13D.05, subdivision 2A3, and section 121A.47, subdivision 5. It does need a second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. We will now be moving into a closed session. It'll take a few seconds.
Take about a minute to change the
Yeah,
cameras.
yeah. Okay, all right. I would like to officially reopen the regular meeting of Tuesday, October 8th. We're moving on to our action item, resolution expelling a student. Clerk Shu.
Yeah, but I move that we adopt the resolution as presented.
Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. This will take a roll call vote. Clerk Shu.
You say aye as I call your name. Director Johnson.
Aye.
Director Goggins.
Aye.
Chair Anderson.
Aye.
Treasurer Clark.
Aye.
And Director Bogachevsky.
Aye.
And Clerk Chu is an aye.
Thank you. All right. The motion is adopted, the roll call vote. Okay, thank you, everyone. That moves us on to this evening's board reports. Let's see. Director Johnson, would you like to start us off with our board reports?
Sure. Did a couple things, and I'm going to leave a few for other members, but had the opportunity to attend the Minnesota Robotics Invitational, a yearly event that our very own Fire Bears put on. And once again, it was just a ton of fun. It's usually, the first big tournament of the year, and it's an invitational, so everybody is able to kind of get the kinks out of the robots, and insane amount of fun. I'm just gonna say, if you've never had the opportunity to go to one of these events, you really should. These kids work hard, and we've got teams from all over state that come here, and personally, I think we have the best tournament in the state. So, and I'm not totally not biased. So,
We do.
Also had a chance to attend our first district curriculum advisory committee meeting, and that, as always, it's a lot of fun. So we got some different folks with us now. So it was a lot of just kind of introducing everybody to how we plan to do things. Some great icebreakers to kind of get to know each other. Looking forward to the next couple meetings where we get to dig in once again to some really cool curriculum. And last but certainly not least, I got a chance to attend a homecoming football game. There were many homecoming activities, but I'm just going to concentrate on the football game. And the Raiders were quite resilient. I give them a lot of credit. It's easy when everything's going your way, but they got this one out 55-35. So my hat's off. This is a really fun team to watch, and they. Even when the other team, even when Hopkins was giving them some trouble, they pulled themselves together, and they were working hard all 4 quarters, and win, lose, or draw. That's all you can ask for. So really fun to see that. Had a chance to go to MSD, but I'm going to leave that for Dr. Chu to talk about.
Oh, no, you should talk.
Go ahead.
I had an opportunity to attend the Equity Leadership Advisory Council with Dr. Chu, and we reviewed the strategic plan, and there were some great questions and identified areas that the group wanted to learn more about or dig into a little more deeply this year. We'll be doing that, as well as going through chapter by chapter on the street data book study, but it's a very deep level of a discussion around there, and then applying it to what we're seeing in the district and what insight we can take away. So that was fun to see that group start up again. I had an opportunity to attend the Little Canada Coffee with the Principal, which occurs at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning. And it was really interesting to see, because so many of the PTAs I've gone to, including when I've gotten to Little Canada's PTA in the past, tend to be a fairly traditional group of parents and not a very diverse group. And what was really great to see was the different families that were there. And there were, in fact, 18 different family members there, and there was a lot of interest and some really good discussion and questions. And I was really admiring how they were using an alternative approach to try to help get different families engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on, and using the drop-off time for the start of school as another time that may be a little more convenient for some families. Little Canada covered their Title I presentation. They have 50.4% with educational benefits, or what used to be free and reduced price lunch. And it needs to be over 40 to be a Title I school, so they laid out the various, how they were using the funds and their goals around reading, math, and the climate in the school. Some good questions and some good discussion around some of the different things going on, so that was really fun. And then attended the Roseville Area Schools Foundation, but I will leave that to Todd or someone else to cover, because I know several of us were at that one. But then today I got to kind of a last minute opportunity came up to attend a session at the high school that was offered to 9th and 10th grade students in their English class. It was difficult and challenging discussions in preparation for a book study that they'll be doing. And it was a panel of administrators and teachers who were of background, not necessarily similar to the student, but a BIPOC background, to talk about some really interesting kind of experiences in their life and how do they have to navigate in their world because of the color of their skin, advice for student using the N-word, with different worlds or different life experiences, how they connect with different people, and how they had to change themselves to be successful in their roles. And it was just a really rich conversation, and there were some great questions by students, and they seemed very engaged in the session I went to, and I just thought it was a really super experience. And we do have two of our panelists today who were just amazing, I was really thrilled to have that opportunity and to see that opportunity for our students to get exposure to some great role models in our district. And them being willing to share their insight and their knowledge and wisdom. So that was wonderful.
Sure. I attended the Community Education Advisory Council where Executive Director shared the information we saw at the last board meeting, as well as we discussed some ideas from the community, went through the calendar with programs and shared some of the programs, and then the calendar for upcoming events that's going to happen throughout the year. So it was a very actually good and engaging meeting there. We had two different 916 connections. One was a traditional board meeting where we looked at some policies, but we also had a retreat where the 916 staff shared with us that they had met with the member districts, superintendents, HR directors, and director of special education to discuss some of the staffing challenges and get kind of the ideas, and they shared some of those ideas with us, as well as some recruitment efforts, retention efforts, and the enrollment capacity and the needs, because that's been a big thing to make sure that when we have students that need to go to setting 4, that we have that ability. So I'll be curious to talk with our team here and see what they learn and how I can support and make sure we can have our voice on there.
Thank you.
Hey, Mike, feel free to mention the foundation, because I was actually going to talk about some other items.
Oh, okay, sure. I was going to refer to you, but I'll go ahead.
No, go
So,
ahead.
yeah, so,
Feel free.
and that's all I have, actually. A number of us did attend the Roseville School Foundation's annual fundraising event, once again held at the Cedar Home Golf Course Clubhouse. And it was great for, a very small nominal donation. There was great little foodstuffs and appetizers and, a cash bar if you wanted to, and, lemonade if you didn't want to spend any money on booze. And just a lot of good speakers. Some of your cabinet spoke very movingly about the good work that the foundation does and how they themselves have been able to take advantage of some of the grants and the funding that the foundation does. And in case people don't know, the foundation is a separate legal entity, totally separate from the schools, but whose mission is to raise money to support the schools. And as we've said, as an example, one of the big things they've done over the last year or two is spent multiple thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in helping support AVIT being implemented throughout our whole elementary school system. There's a cost associated with that. So whether it's small gifts to individual teachers for programs that they've requested or, put an application for, whether it's something large like that, the foundation is really an appreciated and valued partner to the school district. And we really love them and what they do and what they do for us. And it was a pretty good turnout. I think the room was full. And so the event is usually every fall, so, keep it in mind. Anybody's welcome. Yes, when you're there, there's a pitch to give. That's expected at such a thing. But a lot of people, I think, did. I haven't seen or heard what the final number was. It was raised that night, but I'm sure it was worthwhile. And hats off, too, to Chair Anderson. Todd, I think, after having done it now for 2 years in a row, is officially recognized as the Roseville Area School Foundation's wine pull czar, manning the wine pull table, where, you pay for a ticket and you pull a number and you get a bottle of wine, which may or may not be worth what you donated. But so thank you, Chair Todd, for doing that.
I noticed some bartering at the end of,
Yeah,
what did you get? Oh, what did you get? Hey.
I don't like red so much. I'll trade you for a white. So it was a fun evening.
It was
So,
fun.
yeah, and by the way, and I'll say this too, you don't need to wait for that annual event. If anyone out there feels like giving, even in addition to what you may already have given generously to the schools directly, the foundation is also a way for the community to show support by just directly donating. I don't remember what the website is exactly. I think you have to spell it out, Roseville Area Schools Foundation or something. If you Google it, it'll come up. It'll be pretty obvious. And all kind of opportunities to give.
Yes.
And it's a foundation you can join, too.
It's a foundation you can join. They're always asking for help, for volunteers, to help organize things, make calls, just do whatever. So, yeah, it's a fun thing to do. So
Thank you.
that's it for me.
Thanks, Mike. Rose?
So I'll speak about the PTA meeting that Todd and I attended for Brim Hall. And I feel really bad this year that my schedule hasn't worked to attend more. So that one was like, oh, I can do that. And I have to say, every time I do an event like that, just so grateful for the staff and the parents and family who put the event together. Great, I thought it was a very good turnout, even though it's less than what they expected. There was food, everybody was volunteering, and then talking about what is coming up. And the part that was really fun was that at the end of the presentation, there was little stations that everybody went, and so I sat next to the principal, very well-loved principal, Principal Vernash. And, come ask questions of the principal. And everybody who showed up, it wasn't about asking questions. They just wanted to talk and just share how grateful they are to be part of that community. So the sense of belonging was actually, I can feel it. So really grateful to our families, to our staff, to our teachers who put so much work, and you can tell the amount of work they put in to put this event together. And I know many schools do that, and so just always just appreciative as a board member, right, to know we have the support of our families. So, yeah, that's what I got.
And one thing,
MSD.
Oh,
yeah, oh, go ahead, yeah. I didn't mention that.
somebody else should be presenting.
No.
Well, I had a chance to present at the MSD board meeting on the progress that has been made on Elevate Teaching. And so it was great. It was a case to be made in terms of why we need to elevate the profession and really restore the prestige back to the profession. And the progress we have made, that look out for a marketing campaign that is going to come in January. We've done a lot of work to bridge, kind of like if the campaign is successful, where does somebody go? And so we actually have a roadmap that we developed. There will be a website that people can go, and we'll connect people to the navigator, human navigators. So lots of ways to be involved. So I know Roseville is proudly one of the partners in our website, and we'll continue to have conversation as to what does it mean to kind of leverage those communication assets and the 6 tenets of teaching. There has been great conversation starters. So really just a privilege to have shared that work.
What's the name of that website?
I know. You're so good at doing that. www.elevateteaching.us. Thank you.
Thank you for commenting on the Brim Hall PTA meeting. I appreciate that you were able to stay with Principal Vernash. I really wanted to, but I had to leave. But just as an FYI, Clerk Chu and I had an opportunity during their more formalized agenda of the meeting of the night, we had an opportunity to speak on behalf of the board, and yeah, it was a great engagement. And again, I'm glad you were there to cover that last hour talking to everybody. I appreciate that. I had an opportunity, I want to mention, really had a great time. I was able to represent the board at the local government meeting that we had. It was held at Falcon Heights Elementary, along with Dr. Lake and most of the staff that was there. And a wonderful, just a fantastic presentation by Kenyatta and Delon regarding our BIPOC teaching, retention, and recruitment efforts. A lot of great questions that you guys, I think, had from some of the council members. The Ramsey County Commissioner was there, Mary Jo McGuire, but just absolutely loving that report and that data. I think you guys did a fantastic job. I'm really glad, what you presented and the data, and the questions were awesome. I mean, just, I think you guys did a really good job. We had communities, what are great about those meetings, that communities all get to share out what's going on in the community. There's a synergy with the school districts. And then the last thing with that is that we had a tour of Falcon Heights by Principal Beth Benke, which is great to see some of the improvements and some of the new spaces, at Falcon Heights. So it was a really wonderful meeting. That's all I had. Superintendent's report.
Good, thank you. This evening, I'd like to highlight and recognize the importance of including student voice and multiple perspectives in all the world's decision-making, but in this context, specifically education. In Roseville area schools, our students' experiences continue to drive our strategic plan. When we're working to ensure that all of our students are college and career ready, we look way beyond the easily accessible satellite data of standardized test scores. We take this time to analyze disaggregated student information, such as college credit attainment in high school, college entrance and admission rates. We closely monitor elective course enrollment to ensure that we're meeting the needs of the students and their interests. We also work to attract and promote a multitude of career experiences, such as internships, mentorships, apprenticeships, and career cafe learning opportunities. Most importantly, we invest in talking with our students in order to prioritize our student programming. All this being said, I'd like to make the connection and thank our RAS students for climate change who are in attendance for this evening's Sustainable Practices and Green Steps Award presentation. Your advocacy continues to help shape our environmental practices in Roseville area schools. So thank you to all students. Your voice matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, if there's no further business for our regular session, we stand adjourned.